Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about Plymouth and all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. My name is Hanna, and I'm here with...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going to introduce... Sorry, Andy usually insults me at this point. This is Fish, the producer. The silence you're going to hear right now is not Andy because he is unable to make it to today's recording. So, we have stolen the show away from him.
This is very weird.
We've gone mad with power. It's great.
There was one time we recorded an episode kind of without him, but he was
Andy was there. He just checked out part of the way through.
He was physically present.
He was physically present, but mentally... Look, he had a long... He had had a long day and needed a nap.
Yeah.
And took it while we were recording the episode.
That was cool, because I feel like you and I just, we met eyes, and then you're like, right, I got this. And we just,
I can totally host a podcast.
Yeah,
I've got this.
It was like
dear.
Unsaid.
It was, we just kind of kept going.
Yes.
And hoped for the best.
It was good.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
But I digress. Andy really isn't here. We're going to be talking about something.
Yeah, I haven't just muted his microphone and made him sit in the corner.
We keep looking at a chair just like, womp womp.
We are. This is a little weird. Should I
put an Andy doll
put a little
there?
Beard on it or something?
I'll put my backpack in it so it doesn't feel so empty.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Keep doing this. It's just going to be weird. All right. So, I don't have any follow-up. Do you have any follow-up?
No.
Because I never do, because despite editing all the episodes, I tend to forget what we've talked about.
Yeah, likewise. I don't think anything's popped up, but I've gotten a few comments of things we should have talked about in the, linguistic episode.
That tracks.
Yeah, but I was like, we'll just collect them and then do
a follow-up. And at some point we'll do the whole Boston accent and then go from there.
Right. And then Parade Day just happened. I did not take part. And Thanksgiving and the National Day of Mourning is coming up right around the corner.
Released for this episode, actually. Mm-hmm. So, as you're listening.
As you're listening
to this, it's Thanksgiving, or you're a little behind, and it was Thanksgiving.
So, that is actually good for you to tell me about, because I'll do my other episode. Sorry to talk quietly away from the microphone. Let's start with this one.
Okay. So, Hanna, what are we talking about today?
Well, it's so funny you should mention that, because usually I take something from the list of ideas we have.
Yeah, the giant list of
episodes?
Yeah, the giant episode list Google Doc that we have. That
I couldn't find it.
The Google Doc?
I can't get in.
It's probably been so long that I'll make sure I'll send it back to you.
And I did look at it not too long ago, but I couldn't find it. So, and also what I like to do is just find something else to talk about.
Yeah.
So, luckily, I was scratching my head. Well, not luckily that I was scratching my head, but while I was scratching my head one day, I found something on my Facebook feed. And the luck of it is that I follow a lot of historical pages with New England-based history. So I got an idea from the New England Historical Society Facebook page. And it is the mini Ice Age. Have you heard about this?
I believe so. Yes. Is this kind of like the year without a summer kind of thing? Or is
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, broad brush strokes of it, but there's some things that happened in the midst of this mini Ice Age that, weather changes human history. It always will.
Yes, that's kind of how we live.
Yep, so it does. The article that I read, it was like, some of these things actually impacted history, but when you think about it, weather always impacts history.
Yeah, the weather that doesn't... Yeah, that'd be a little weird. It's like, this weather didn't affect history at all. It's like, wow, that's...
It just always... Yeah,
concerning.
Whether it's a drought or too much rain,
not enough rain.
Something is...
There's
no greater universal impact.
Weather basically created a whole pile of revolutions in the middle of 19th century Europe because they had famine and after famine after famine, and all the people were dying and rose up in rebellion.
Yes. So it's a generally agreed upon time frame from the scientific community where the climate cooled from about the 15th century to the middle of the 19th century. They do have some of the years a little bit more specific. Some say it's like from 1550 to 1700 or 1645 to 1750. But there were a couple events that happened after that some people say should be like grouped into the middle or the little ice age, not the middle ice age, the mini ice age. The average North American temperature during the winter was 2 degrees Celsius. What's that in Fahrenheit?
2 degrees Celsius without looking, mid to high 30s.
Okay. So I guess it was like, they said it was like, I forget what it said. Because why isn't it right there where it should be in my notes? Because I probably say it somewhere else in this, but it was lower than the average of like from years prior.
All right, so 2 degrees Celsius is 35.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
If that helps.
So having colder weather, like we talked about, would obviously have an impact on the history or the things that happened in that time. History now. Freezing waterways, food shortages, weird one, but stronger wood.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the winter or extra cold, longer cold, sustained cold causes trees to like get...
They have tighter rings.
Yes. So there was actually like an instrument that came of it because of how strong the wood was. Or like they took advantage of how strong the wood was to like create special tones of different things.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting? But also stronger wood of that time just for like other craftsmanship.
Yeah. So, I mean, and for that matter, even now people would prefer like older...
Yeah.
Like there's a reason people use like reclaimed barnwood.
Yeah.
One, it looks nicer, and two, it's actually stronger because the weather got colder and the rings got tighter. So using like 17th, 18th century wood it's just stronger wood because it's
good wood.
Yeah, it's stronger wood. It's got a tighter grain.
It's got those good trees. So cold winters in New England would actually push the colonizing of the United States back. So like they tried to come over and they were like,
no, it's cold.
Yeah.
It's chilly. I don't like this.
Let's not.
I'm really not set for a New England winter, right? Look, I'm going back to Old England.
Yeah.
Where the winters were fine.
Isn't it funny? It's like it's always depicted as like a dreary, wet place, but like at least it's not like...
At least there aren't 3 feet of snow on the ground?
Yeah, freezing while you're doing that. So yeah, colonizing was pushed back a little bit, not for long. But there's events like the Great Snow of 1777, and Cold Friday was also mentioned in there.
Call back to episode... I'm not looking it up.
Episode number Cold Friday. Check it out.
Yeah.
And it caused mutinies, actually, too. So when Washington and his men were fighting, this was in like 1770, 1780-ish time.
During the Revolutionary War?
Yes.
Okay.
Him and his men weren't fighting, but they were collectively fighting. Well, they were about to be. They were fighting against the British.
So was it during the Revolution?
It was, yeah.
Okay. Like, it doesn't have to be like mid-battle to be while they were fighting.
No. Okay I just meant that. I said, well, him and his men were fighting, and I said, well, they weren't fighting each other. And then we are talking about a mutiny. So, yes, they are fighting each other. That's what a mutiny is, Hannah. Yes. The harbors in the Northeast were completely frozen over, so Boston to New York, up, obviously. Yep. But they were in the Boston and New York area, and getting supplies to them was, like...
incredibly difficult because you couldn't land anywhere nearby without sledding in over a bunch of ice.
Yes, so they were hungry, but a lot of them were, like, shoeless and coatless, coming out of, like,
so they can't even
battles.
eat their shoes.
Yeah, they couldn't even eat couldn't even boil down their Crocs. Do you know about that? Do you remember that rumor?
No.
That Crocs were for eating if you ever were in like a...
I know because
It's not real. It's not real. I believed it, but it's not real.
Okay, so I thought they were plastic.
They are.
You can't eat plastic.
Someone told me that, like, if you're ever in like a dire situation, Crocs were like, you could boil them down or something, and you could like eat your Crocs. I don't know. It was before the internet. I was told this. Can you see the Crocs rumor? Because it's.
I've now found a Vice article called "Can You Eat Crocs?" An investigation from March of last year. Are Crocs edible? Apparently, yes.
They are?
I don't, according to look, I mean,
anything's edible if you give it a good college try.
Okay, so I think it's true. I think you can eat your Crocs.
It's true? Really?
Everything I'm finding is yes.
Oh my God. I thought like I was just like tricked into believing that. And I was 14. I wasn't going to Google it. I would have to find a computer. I didn't even know Google could be used that way yet. I love this.
I think, as far as I can tell, yeah.
How?
Crocs are edible. I mean, in the not like... Okay, apparently they're made of foam, not plastic.
What's the difference?
I don't know. This is one of those things that... Okay, look, I can't dive into this because the episode will go for like 5 hours of me researching something that we're not... Crocs are not... Oh, no, okay.
They're not toxic. They're like it's like eating crayons. You can eat it. If you really had to. They're non-toxic.
I mean, it's... Okay, you know what? Just don't.
Okay.
Don't eat Crocs.
All right. But if you had to.
Just don't eat Crocs.
All right. Anyway, they didn't have any shoes or Crocs to eat, and they were very hungry. They started to get really mad. They did start a mutiny. It only lasted for a handful of days, and then I think someone in the ranks convinced them to change their mind, and they did. And so everything got settled down, and they went about their business. The Plymouth Company attempted to colonize an area in Maine. We've talked a little bit about this. It was like the failed colony.
Yeah, the failed colony starts with a P.
Yep, Popham. Popham.
Popham.
Popham.
Popham. You just saw PH and just assumed.
Yeah. Popham Colony. In 1607, there was 2 ships, 120 people that were trying to colonize the area. It was led by George Popham, who died. He died here. And the winter was just really rough, and they could not take it. And they were on, like, the rocky shores.
Yeah, I mean, it's coastal Maine, which is not... Some of coastal Maine is lovely. Not all of coastal Maine is really,
like habitable.
Yeah, not the winter. I wouldn't winter on the coast of Maine.
It's like really icy rocks.
It's unpleasant. It is not. It's lovely in the summer.
I mean, I think it has this. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for? I can't.
I need some kind of context.
No, you won't.
Bleak.
Nope.
Austere.
There's just like there's a beauty in it.
Stark.
Yeah.
Like, it's lovely. I just wouldn't want to live there in 17th century housing.
No, with the clothes, are you joking?
Like, I really do I appreciate modern climate control housing.
And Crocs.
I won't go that far.
Just in case.
I have never in my life worn Crocs.
I haven't either, actually. I've tried them on. They're fine.
Never gotten that far.
They're fine. I didn't find a need for them in my life, though. Anyway, they did go back to England because it was just too bad.
Too much.
Sad
The heck with this. I'm out. I'm going home.
Yes. New England was described as a cold, barren, mountainous, rocky desert by John Smith.
I'm trying to figure where he got mountainous.
I'm up in Maine. He did go up to...
I mean, it is nice up there.
Yeah.
But it's rocky.
And he was the one who, dubbed it New England also.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I think I had heard that somewhere, but I did not recall it.
Probably from me.
I have all sorts. Excuse me, Hannah.
I bet.
I think over the couple of years we've been doing this show, you should accept the fact. You should have realized that no, I just have random things in my head sometimes.
Yeah, me too. So French also tried to colonize the North earlier than they had.
Okay.
Because we know Canada, right?
I know of Canada.
You know, you've heard of it? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So 1607, they were actually on an island. I got very confused by this because they named the island St. Croix. And I was like, why are they complaining about it being cold? St. Croix is in the Bahamas or whatever. Near the Bahamas, I should say.
I can't believe they tried to colonize Aruba and said it was too cold. These cowards.
I was like, what? I don't get it. So, no, it was actually in a river that divides the U.S. and Canada. Okay. And there's an island they named St. Croix.
And they call it St. Croix because they were French and Catholic and tossed the word Saint in front of anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I think Croix means cross.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they... LaCroix. The cross. Okay.
Yes. Yes, Hannah, that's what LaCroix means. I'm mostly sure.
It all just came to me. They gave up a little bit, but they did come in the summertime. So they were there for the summer, and they were like, this is lovely. And then it got extremely cold and wastelandish, and they could not hack it anymore. They did obviously come back, and I believe it said like they went right to Nova Scotia from there first, and then
it's like just kind of keep going.
Yeah. There was a great hurricane of 1635, which ended up killing all the crop, corn specifically.
I thought for a second you were going to say killed all the Crocs.
Oh, yeah. There were crocodiles up here.
What were they going to live on if they couldn't eat their Crocs?
I went right to the animal.
That's right. No, you can't. Look, they can't live this far north.
No.
It gets too cold for any reptile that large.
Sidebar, I was in... Where was I? Kentucky?
I think you talked about being in Kentucky.
I was in Kentucky once, and we went to this state forest there, and it's Daniel Boone State Forest, and we were walking, and there were lizards. And I didn't think there were lizards that far north.
Huh.
I get that Kentucky's the South.
But it's like the northern half of the South.
Yeah.
It's like, I
was like, what? There are lizards here? So I didn't know. And we were in like a mountainy area. I'm like, maybe they just know where to go during the cold weather. Anyway.
I'm going to acknowledge that I'm not an expert in the reptile life of Kentucky.
Yeah. But no, it killed all the corn. It flattened all the corn stalks.
That'll do it.
It then followed by a crazy winter, so it drove the colonists to steal more stuff from the indigenous tribes of North America.
Yeah.
This was specifically in Connecticut, and this started the Pequot War. And there's also reason to believe that the weather with the lack of food led to Metacomet's War because of just all the same stuff. Bad crop, the colonists were forced to take over, or they weren't forced to. They forced themselves onto more land that was not theirs. And then to try and regain area for crop. Yeah,
try to expand their farmland so they can grow more, but then...
get more food.
People live there, and everything went sideways.
Yeah, and then, so in the deal, there was a deal, obviously, made that... the tribes were not happy with. So that's, of course they weren't. But that was just subsequent devastational acts against the tribes were caused from that moment forward. And it was really, like I said, we were talking about history impacting, or weather impacting history. This is one of those would it have shaken out that way without that hurricane? Probably.
Probably. Would it have happened at that moment? Maybe not.
Yeah.
It's history on a large scale is always kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Because it's always this combination of larger, like, environmental and historical forces that always seem to have one guy doing stuff.
Yeah. But it's like, well, they were going to be there anyway.
It was always going to happen. It just might not have happened at that point in that specific way.
Yeah. 1816, the year without a summer.
Yes.
Every month had frost in it, and it snowed 6 inches in June. So there was like frost every morning. Not every morning of every month, but to have frost in the morning of any month during the summer would be crazy. So that's just how you know how cold it was.
Yeah.
To have snow in June would be bananas.
Yes. That's unfortunate.
Because of all this cold weather, people who came and settled into the colonies were more inclined to move to warmer weather.
I mean, this is 1816. This is the U.S. at this point.
Yeah. So no.
Oh,
Before
beforehand.
this,
Okay.
yeah, that was just the last historical event.
Sorry. Yeah.
So now we're
we were
just
jumping
speaking on a general level.
Okay.
All of the cold made people more inclined to move.
To go. Yes.
So westward ho, move south.
Southward ho.
Yep. All of the above was not because, but definitely inspired by cold weather. People were...
People were sick and tired of being so sick and tired and just fled south for the winter.
Yes. They were snowbirding.
They were, yeah.
But
I mean,
also...
Well, snowbirds come back.
They do.
They were just fleeing the chill. They were not feeling this.
I mean, beyond that, right? What was the scale of this when you think about how cold it was when people got here? So, from 1550 to 1700. And I know when we talk about like the Pilgrims arriving in Plymouth, how cold it was, but
they were talking about how cold the winter, but it was a bonus winter.
Yeah, it was.
It was extra winter.
Yeah,
it was colder than you'd think. It was frigid on a level that most people didn't really can't really process now, because even when we were kids, it got cold, but it didn't get
this cold. Mini ice age.
It was
cold.
not mini ice age cold or little ice age.
I said mini.
I know. I think
Is it the little?
I think little ice age is like the actual term.
Oh, I like mini.
You can call it mini. I'm not here to correct. I'm not here to correct you. I just know at some point someone listening would go, "Wait a second, the little ice age is a real thing."
I thought it was the little ice age.
And and then the year without a summer, which is
the year without a Santa Claus.
I don't remember the Rankin Bass year without a summer.
It would have actually been the year without a winter, and the year without a Santa Claus. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know all the Rankin. I love Rankin Bass.
Okay.
Rankin Bass is my holiday.
Yeah.
I've never seen Elf. I don't care about Elf. I will watch Nest of the Long-Eared Donkey until I'm 50.
They based the aesthetic of Elf in the scenes off Rankin Bass.
I respect that.
Yeah. But it kind of leads me back to, we did some episodes years ago on the Pilgrims making the journey over, and we did only just a brief beginnings of how they settled into Plymouth, how they came, what they did to establish here, knowing that the Native American tribe that once existed was no longer here, and that that they were that cold, they were freezing on the ship, but they just built crappy houses. They weren't the coldest hills in Plymouth. Just thinking about that.
Where in?
I know they had to be close to the ocean, but they were you see that hill with no tree cover? Let's go for that.
Yeah, it's ooh, boy,
I could use a little more wind when I'm
what? I like the view.
Yeah.
I really like the view. So if we could just make sure there were no insulating trees blocking the view and the wind. And the best thing is they've lived their entire life in the middle of this. They know that it's cold.
Mm-hmm. So anyway,
People.
that's the Little Ice Age. Brought to you by a happenstance of me scrolling through Facebook. Thank God. I wasn't sure what the heck to talk about for a while.
Yeah.
Luckily, that came across my page.
Yeah. I do want to do one thing about the year without a summer.
Yeah. I keep wanting to say a year without a Santa Claus. Okay,
I know.
go ahead.
I can't go into that because I don't have a local connection.
You're like, I
besides
can't
me.
right now. I can't.
I will, but we have an end to this episode at some point. But yeah, the year was without a summer was the result of a massive volcanic eruption.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it was at the end of a chain. So in 1815, Mount Tambora in Indonesia went off. It was the largest volcanic eruption in the last 1,300 years.
That's crazy.
It was also one of 6 volcanic eruptions that went off within like 6 years of each other.
Oh, wow.
So it was just a constant pile of ash
Just
in the
clouds.
atmosphere.
There's no sun.
It was just, because the sun was, it was basically
blocked out.
It's volcanic winter.
Wow.
Because there was so much ash in the atmosphere that you just could not get enough light through.
That is wild. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a huge volcano. Like, it's a massive volcano.
It was in Indonesia?
In Indonesia, yeah. I mean, they call it the Dutch East Indies because it was the 1820s,
Yeah.
but it's Indonesia now, yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of which part of Indonesia it would be in. Do you know?
It is on the island of Sumbawa.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much you know about the geography of Indonesia because I got nothing.
I actually know a lot about the geography of Asia and the Middle East. This is like a weird...
Okay, this is a little further east than... This is the far east, not the middle, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is like south of Borneo.
No, yeah. Just
Asian
countries in the Middle East.
Yeah, east of Java, south of Borneo. For those of us who are not Hanna with her amazing ocean, So I am not an expert. I had to look this up. But yeah, it is
That's so cool.
massive eruption.
So on top of having a very cold year.
So on top of the Little Ice Age, it got way worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one had any Crocs.
No. I mean,
What the heck?
it was
They just had
around there. They weren't Crocs. They were
leather shoes. With buckles.
well, I was talking Indonesia. They were like Komodo dragons.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. You got anything else, Hannah?
I think that's it.
Okay, so I guess this is the part where we stop talking.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. Thanks again for listening.